So we thought that we were going to show you how to cover for cold weather, and it started sleeting. So instead, we've moved into a greenhouse. Now, let's take a moment and talk about the difference between impending snow and cold weather. So, impending snow, if we have a snow in the forecast, that snow actually acts as an insulator. So, you kind of hope for snow. But instead, sometimes we just get Arctic blast here in North Georgia. And that cold temperature, if we're talking we go below 20, and specifically when we go into the single digits, because sometimes we go to zero. If we get that cold, it can wreak havoc on the vascular system of your plant. There are two main times that we pay attention to plants specifically.
Your early spring growth, your late summer growth, and new growth that comes out on a lot of them. You don't want to burn it like your camellias. You don't want to lose your bud, or the oak leaf hydrangea. You do not want it to lose that bloom that will be gone. You'll think it's never blooming, but it's losing its freeze. It's freezing the buds off of it.
Okay, so we're paying attention to plants that have fleshy growth in, say, October, or plants that have fleshy growth that comes out early in the season, say February. Those two regions, those two times, are essential for our plants. Specifically, crops that you could consider high risk would be things like camellias, tea olives, laura patella, hollies, different varieties of hollies that sometimes push a heavy growth, especially if they've been trimmed in the late season. Um, on hydrangeas, it's big leafed hydrangeas, so not your narrow leafed hydrangeas, instead the ones that have the wide leaf, because they set their blooms off of the previous season's growth. So I would pay attention to those. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to talk about how you properly cover. So now, how you properly cover makes a huge difference in how your plant survives and thrives through a freeze.
Turn the pretty side.
So here's what I want you to notice. If we look, we can see that it is in a dome shape. If you have the ability, it's always good to water the plant beforehand, because if the ground is going to be frozen, you've given it a chance to get some water in advance. That also creates a heat shield. So we mound the cloth over it, and the thicker the blanket you can use, the better.
Better.
Mound the cloth around, make sure it domes over, and then make sure that it extends all the way to the ground. Do not lollipop it by putting it onto the ground. We've created a place for the heat to collect and keep our plant warm.